For people who want to know what is the Keith Andrew Network, the whole point of my talk show is to show you that even with having a learning disability, I can still amount to something. And at the same time, I'm able to turn myself into an example for people out there dealing with any types of learning disabilities and disabilities, and never give up and prove people wrong. Prove to them that labels do not dictate who you are and who you're going to be. To prove them, you can still amount to something.
Hi, this is Pat Kennedy, interviewed by Keith Andrew on the Keith Andrew Network. Keith does a great job. Keep up the great work, and let's hit the 2,000 mark.
The Keith Andrew Network. I am your host, the one and only Keith Andrew Network, the host with a disability. This is episode 1040. The Keith Andrew Network, it's going nowhere. Our goal is to reach 2,000, and I'm willing and able to interview anyone with a great story in the entertainment world. If you're an actor, producer, model, if you're in the entertainment world, I would love to hear from you. With that being said, we have a great guest here only on the Keith Andrew Network. As you heard from the recommendation, you are a professional voiceover actor. So the first question I want to ask you is, tell our audience a little bit about yourself and the type of work that you do.
Well, hello, everyone. My name is Pat Kennedy, and as Keith said, I am a voiceover talent. I specialize in corporate narration, medical narration, telephony, and e-learning content.
No, but all that's really interesting. So what motivated you to get into voiceovers?
I was always a lover of the language and words, and I just remember standing in lines, and I would always hear, "Please keep arms and hand in ride while in motion." And I would stand at like Hershey Park and listen to all the specifics about the rides, and I just thought to myself, I think I can do that.
No, absolutely. Hey, as long as you have the heart and passion, you can do what you love. Of course, you have to be realistic at the same time. I grew up as a professional wrestling fan, but I'm a blind as a bat without glasses. But that doesn't mean I can't be in the entertainment world as long in a different form. You do voiceovers. You may not be a wrestler, but you can still entertain people, but in a different way. So there's always a will, and there's always a way.
Yes, there is.
So that was the first one I'll ask you. I have 14 more questions I want to ask you, and then you can throw it back at me. You can ask me anything you want. Second one I want to ask you is, what is the biggest change you want to make in your voiceover career?
I eventually want to get into a genre called audio description. And audio description is basically you hear a voiceover tell what is going on with the scene. So it helps people who are visually impaired to hear and picture the scene in his or her mind.
No, absolutely. So you mean, can you give us a little more information about that?
So a visually impaired person wouldn't be able to see the screen. So a visually impaired person would hear something like, "Man in dark suit is crossing the room." And then that person can picture in his or her mind the scene that is being played out.
Oh, that makes sense. But let me ask you, if someone's blind and they don't never seen anyone, obviously, how did you know a man in a black suit if he never saw the color black before?
That's a good point. That's why I need to learn more about audio description.
Like I said, on the Keith Andrew Network, we like to have fun with everyone. And that's all it is. It's just entertainment. If you can have a fun segment, you don't take it too personally. But seriously, it's someone who's blind and he's like, okay, imagine a guy and a girl in a pink outfit. It's like, I have no idea what the hell pink even is. What are you talking about?
True.
But it's hard to explain. Of course, you can make jokes about it all day, but anyway, we're just here just to have fun and not take things too literally. But this one is a very interesting question for you. What are some of the best advice you have gotten from other voiceover actors?
So many pieces of advice. One that sticks with me all the time that I've heard over and over and over again. In the voiceover industry, it is not a sprint, it is a marathon. It is something that you have to just keep going back to and back to and back to because, like in all industries, there's ups and downs. There's months where it's very fruitful and months where there's a drought. So you have to be resilient and just go with the flow. Be ready for anything.
Absolutely. We're going to take a quick commercial break. And when we come back, we're going to go on with the other 13 questions.
Okay.
Hey, we're back to the Key Fantasy Network from a quick improv break. I don't normally take breaks, but like you were saying off the air, I drank too much water and I was like sitting like this trying to fight off. I was like, I'm not gonna pee my pants. Uh, I need to go. But I used to take commercial breaks, but I don't have any sponsors. I don't have anything I can promote. So I removed the commercial break aspect from the show, and it's you have the full 28 to 30 minutes.
Mhm.
But with that being said, I'm going back to the question I'm going to ask you is who were some of your favorite voiceover actors that you had a chance to work with?
Let's see. Oh, let's see. J. Michael Collins. I wish I would have worked with Bob Bergen, but I haven't. um, let's see. Anne Ganguza. And there's people that I haven't directly worked with, but I've been in workshops and webinars with them that I
Huh?
truly admire. Scott Parkin, Ellie Ray. Of course, now her name doesn't come to me. Um, Rachel Naylor. So there's a lot of fantastic people out there. Mark Scott, um, Val Kelly.
To be honest, I never heard any of them.
You probably heard them, but you didn't know it was them.
Probably. Were they in any cartoons or like any audiobooks?
Ellie Ray has done a number of cartoons. I know for a fact that J. Michael Collins has done some of the uh, I think they're called Jack Links commercials. Um, again, because they're not really giving credit, you
Yeah.
really don't know who it is.
For me, when I think about, sorry, I'm just trying to angle myself. When I think about voiceover actors, hands down, the couple ones I can think of is Kevin Conroy. He will always be Batman. See, favorite voiceover actors: Kevin Conroy, Mark Hamill.
Mhm.
I'm trying to think if I'll hurt myself. That's not a person, even though it would be really funny if that's somebody's name. Let's see, Kevin Conroy, Mark Hamill, Peter Collins, really great. He will always be Optimus Prime. Sean Schemmel, Chris Sabbath, a couple of people I interviewed from Dragon Ball. Stephanie Analdi, Elise Bowman, Josh Martin, and Chuck Herbert. I used to actually my very first interview that I did, not video wise, but actually audio wise, was with Barbara Goodson. Also, I sat down with oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, go ahead. Keep going.
I actually sat down with Rob Axel before he passed away. Kerrigan Mayhem, but that's a long story. I don't want to talk about that. So there's so many voiceover actors from Power Rangers. Um, no
Yes.
Transformers, I wish, but I had actors, actresses, models, CEOs, professional wrestlers, people with disabilities. I had teasers. I had coaches. I had writers, producers, anything that I have like a list of questions. So if I can come up with questions, I can make it easier. If, for an example, if it was just like a normal person with disabilities, I would be throwing things against the wall, be like, yeah, see, you have a disability, I have a disability, but we really don't have anything in common. And I don't know how we're going to have a half-hour conversation. But you acted, for an example, you're a voiceover actor. There's so many questions you can ask. Not to sound like I'm a prize myself, but you know what I mean? There's certain people like, yes, you give someone an opportunity, but how would your, okay, this is a question I want to ask you.
Okay.
How do you relate to your audience? Because by having certain people on my show, you need to have it very entertaining. You have to engage with your audience. Yes, am I guilty of randomly having people on the show that I liked and no one else actually gave a crap about? Yes, I am guilty of that. But you have to make it interesting, engaging, and you really need to have your audience have their finger on the post button saying, why am I listening to this and what am I getting out of it? Do you agree or
Exactly.
disagree?
I agree. You, as the voice actor, must draw your audience in. You must be able to engage with your audience. Otherwise, you are simply reading words off of a page.
Yeah.
So
You
you
know,
you have to become someone, and you have to know who you're talking to. What when you voice something, you need to know what audience, what demographic you're addressing. And that makes a difference. I'm not going to talk and do an e-learning script for preschool. I'm not going to have the same voice and character as I would if I were doing an e-learning for college students. It would be totally different.
for people who want to know I am familiar with the term e-learning, but just in case other people don't know what e-learning is, what can you tell us?
Sure, e-learning is learning that usually happens online. It could be as simple as a company who has to do training. That could be an e-learning module. It could be for long distance learners. It could be for, of course, e-learning was very popular during the pandemic because you couldn't teach the students in person, so you had to do it online.
No, actually, you bring up a good point. Two questions bonus questions I want to ask you. How has the pandemic impacted your career? And a lot of people say, oh, I wish I can stay home and do nothing or work from home. Well, you kind of got what you wanted because now you have to twist someone's freaking arm to get them back into the office. My hairdresser says she has a hard time finding people who want to work. So you can't have it both ways. You can't say, I wish I could work from home and never be an antisocial and never interact with anyone. But at the same time, I like going to the mall. I like interacting with some people. There's a lot
Mhm.
of people I like to keep at arm's way. I talk with my hands. There's some people I like to keep at arm's length. But you can't have it both ways. But I do get criticism for this. Do you think, well, in your career, do you think the pandemic for you it was a blessing in disguise, saying, you know what, I was so busy with my career. Now I'm under, I assume you were under house arrest for the first year. That's what everyone was. Um, has it given you time to reflect and say, you know what, now I can do what I really wanted to do?
Well, for me, I'm not a traveler. So before the pandemic, it was not unusual for voice artists to actually go to the studios to record. Since the pandemic, the increase in home studios has just skyrocketed. So for me, the non-traveler, as much as I like to interact with people, I don't have to worry about traveling to a studio to record. I can record in the convenience of my home.
Now, have you ever written any audiobooks and would you be interested in? So I was going to say ghost writing, but when I'm trying to figure out the right term of ghost narrating someone's book.
I have narrated someone's book. I have used my own name as the person who it was narrated by. There are people who do have pseudonyms that they have recorded under. So the audiobooks that I have recorded, it is my name as narrated by.
Would you be interested in hypothetically narrating my book?
That's a possibility as long
You know,
as it's not 5,000 pages.
no, I don't think it'll be 2,000 of it. I think 2,000, or I think it's 200. A lot of people say to me, you look on Instagram and Facebook, you always see these stupid promos. Hey, you want to be on Fox News? You want to be on CNN? Give me 15 seconds. Give me 2 minutes. Give me 30 seconds. And they tell you everything that you want to hear. But at the end, they stick the nail in the coffin. $2,000, 3,000. It's like, you, well, I don't have ATM on my forehead. And yes, I'm wearing filter glasses, but I don't have ATM on my forehead. It's a gamble. But the one thing they all have in common is to say you should write a book. People about me say I should write a book. I think you should write a book because you've done a lot more. You narrated over 100 different things, and you can probably do laps around me. You're a perfect candidate of writing a book. Me, yes, I have a disability. Yes, I reached 1,000 episodes. Yes, I met some, obviously, yes, famous people. But am I famous? No, I'm some smuck. And it's uncensored. There's some smo. And I'm like, oh, you say you do these great things, but no one knows who you are. So for me to write a book, it feels kind of redundant because it's like, yes, I have a disability. I get to do this. I get to do that. But in the back of my mind, there's a little voice saying, who's going to read it? Why should they care? And you're not even out there. You know the joke? There's always a on Instagram. Why aren't you as famous yet? Because you're not sharing my stuff. It, but that's the thing. It's let me ask you how this relates to you. With
Okay.
everything that you accomplish in your life, do you think you should do an audiobook, number one? And do you think it would resonate with your audience?
I
Because
don't
you
know.
have more experience. Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Everyone's interests are different. Like, for example, I have co-authored a poetry book with a brilliant young poet in India. Um, I haven't really gone the avenue of writing a book. I'm not sure about that one, Keith. Yes, I have a lot of experiences. I was a former teacher, so I do have a lot of experiences. Just not sure I want to delve into that particular realm right now.
Well, actually, you brought up an interesting point. Because you were a teacher, and I didn't know that, but I find that really interesting. Have you worked with people with, actually, that's my next segment on Etsy. Besides me, obviously, have you worked with people with disabilities? And how can people with learning disabilities follow in your footsteps?
Oh yes, I've taught many students with learning disabilities. Mm, I wasn't just an elitist teacher who taught only the normal or gifted, if that's what you want to label the people as. Um, you can't pick and, or at least I couldn't. I couldn't pick and choose my students. I think it's very important that everybody gets a chance. Everybody gets to come to the table. Everybody gets to partake. Uh, no matter no matter what. I don't think people should be defined by their disabilities. You're a human. You're a human first and always. So I don't really like the term disability. Um, maybe I like challenge better. I think all of us though have something that challenge us. For example, it would be a challenge for me, and I tell people this all the time. I am geographically deficient. I I am horrible with directions and knowing where I'm at. However, my father, on the other hand, he knew every back alley shortcut, and that just didn't trickle down to me when it came to the genes. I'm just very directionally deficient. So,
It's funny. My dad was a former history teacher, but all his kids failed history.
well, I think when you find that one thing that you really like, you put the effort in. You want to do it. You want to succeed. So, I think many times that makes the difference.
It's funny. You remind me of a funny story. My sister played categories with her friends, and one of the questions was, I think categories or categories, one of them.
Hmm.
I'm not really sure about the name. And it's like, where's Paul Harbert? And she said, New York. And they're like, Jesus, how did you graduate college? Like, I can tell funny stories about other people, but for me, I don't have funny. I have stupid stories, but I don't have funny stories on my
Oh, I'm
own.
sure you have funny stories. I'm sure you do, Keith. Come on.
What about you? Do you have any funny stories you like to share?
Funny stories. Wow.